Good evening, everyone. Sorry for recording such a late video. Had a busy day today. Anyways, getting into Bitcoin for the day, closed a very bullish candle. Our high was 64,988, low being 63,842, and we closed at 64,620, up about $546. So definitely a bullish sign. Obviously, these candles are zoomed in, so you can see how tiny they actually are. For this current candle, you can see that we have a high of 64,969, low of 64,403. So again, trading within a really tight range, right? Within a $500 range for right now. We do have a wick to the downside, so there is potential that just by touching that 21 on the daily, we can still get that continuation upward. I am for right now still going to be targeting 65,740. That's kind of be my area of my first initial target. We could definitely get it to 66,482 and possibly the bottom of this order block at 67.5. But realistically, that's kind of my first area I'm looking at for buy side liquidity here. Taking a look at, let's see, this is going to be our 12 hours. So, honestly, still a very bullish sign. It looks like you kind of made a bullish flag here, almost a head and shoulders that was basically separated into a bullish flag, and it broke out, right? So, your measured move of that, and I don't think I've done this yet, but your measured move of that would be right to 67.5, just about 67 200-ish area. So we're definitely on the way to that. Now, whether we go up in a straight line or, we have to basically get some small retracements and slowly work our way up, is going to be interesting to see. But I do see us at least, like I said, getting to that 65, 700-ish area. That's going to be my first target. Let's see, taking a look at our 8 hours. So, the only thing, guys, with this, you got the 8 hour and the 10 hour. Obviously, we're very bullish still. Just know that because we're still in a summer month, obviously we're in August, price action can still be very boring, right? So we're still experiencing some days that are just kind of like weekend trading. Now, as far as whether or not we've made our high for the week, I'm not 100% sure. There is a potential that Friday we're going to do one of two things because Friday is our main, you know, basically our Fed folder day, right? So we're either going to dump down here and test weekly open, even potentially down to Monday midnight open on Friday, or we're going to skyrocket up and hit into these upper areas. One of the two will probably happen. Now, because we have the 8 hour and the 10 hour with that golden cross now, my expectation is that we're going to continue our slow grind up. Now, tomorrow, ideally, I would like for us to at least just kind of stay in a range, like for this current candle, either stay in a range or invoke some shorts and get a little bit down here, maybe test 63,940 area around 64,000 and get the bounce from there. That would be an ideal setup for Friday because then you're looking at some sort of cup and handle formation. Okay. So that's what ideally I want to see for Friday. Now, whether or not that's going to happen, obviously we can't fully predict the market, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. If we get the continuation up basically for today's candle, just know that I would basically be targeting 65,740. Maybe Friday we reverse back down to 65,186, or even in back into the 64K range if we were to get up here. But that's going to be more of a kind of end of week scenario, kind of more of a bearish scenario if we were to test this today. Let's take a look. So your 4 hour is about to get that golden cross, which could result in a very explosive move. That will be happening probably within the next 8 to 12 hours. So I would be expecting that to happen very soon. Um, but just getting that 21 to cross over the 200 as well as the 50 will be coming up as well. But that's kind of what I'm seeing for right now. So as far as, your meso time frame still looking very bullish. Your 1 hour, had a nice bullish flag here, kind of consolidated, basically within a very, very tight range. It looks like we had a high of 64,988 down to about 64,457. So $500 kind of drop over the course of about 8 hours, and then you finally are getting that move back up. So definitely very slow, summer price action still for right now. It's to be expected. I'm not expecting any sort of major moves until October, November timeframe, so the end quarters of the year. But that's kind of what I'm seeing for right now. 30-minute looking bullish, 15-minute looking bullish as well. You're staying above all of your time frames. You're staying above the 200. You're making the Sammy special where you're hugging the 21. Everything's looking amazing, right? So no complaints there. As far as targets, obviously, my first one to the upside is 65,740. 66,482 would be the next one, and then to 67.5. So those are our three targets still. And then to the downside, if we were to get that move down, obviously you're going to want to see us keep the weekly open around 63,546. If we lose that, I want to see us test 62,880, basically, which would be our Monday midnight open, which is still possible. So just be aware of that this is still a possibility that we could visit down here, which is basically the bottom of this order block as well as our monthly open. So a lot of confluence around that 62,880 area. All right, guys, that being said, let's go ahead and take a quick look at liquidity, see what we got going on there. So let me grab this and this, go into our liquidity here. So let's take a look at our 4-hour. All right, so our 4-hour, we took out that little spot of liquidity, and now we're waiting to see whether or not we can continue our move up. It does look like that's going to be very much so the case. And look at this, guys, 65.7 is the bottom of this green pool right here. So definitely a potential to get rejected off of there, at least at first. I would not be surprised if we got some sort of continuation to the downside or slight trend to the downside for the time being to eventually trend up and take out the rest of this green pool here. So that's going to be my first expectation of 65.7. Obviously 66.9 is another area, which is around 67,000-ish area, getting up to about 67,230, and then, obviously 68,000. So definitely some interesting points to keep in mind on the liquidity chart. Obviously, we can't ignore the fact that there is some nice red liquidity to the downside. So, just be mindful that in any given moment, we could be taking out this triple bottom right here. I would not be expecting it this week. I would more so be expecting it next week. But just know that this is a potential to at least take out this, if not this further area down here. Okay. All right. So taking a look at our 1-hour. Let's see here. All right. So kind of getting rejected off of this green pool right here, kind of making some cat ears for right now. Could be some bullish consolidation. We'll have to wait and see. Let's take a look and see, honestly, with this liquidity, I could possibly see us move down even into around 63,796. Again, that would be testing weekly open, and possibly getting a bounce from there if it wanted to. Okay, so obviously we made another kind of high, almost to the 65K, and then we basically have the ability to potentially drop down here. It might even just go down to about 64,000 even. That's going to be your first area of support, and then if you lose that, you're going to visit that 63.8, which would be your weekly open. So those are two levels that I'd be watching closely for tonight through tomorrow morning. You obviously on your order book have a ton of orders to the upside. So this does tell me that chances are better that you're basically going to get that move to the upside and start taking out all of this liquidity in 65,000 to potentially 66,000 range. Taking a look at the 15-minute. Yeah, you have liquidity on both sides. You're starting to get a little bit less 100x to the upside. That being said, I could easily see us bouncing off of, like I said, the 64K area or 63.8 area to start, trending up again. So trend down to trend up, like I usually say here. And then obviously getting potentially rejected off of 65.7 is going to be key, right? Because look at this red liquidity right here. It's right below this red liquidity zone. So definitely could get rejected off of the 65.7-ish area right here, okay? If we were to get that continuation move up. All right, taking a look now, I guess we should probably jump to the simple map, see if there are any different levels here. So taking a look at your simple map, you can see we're right next to basically our major liquidity to the upside. You kind of have to get above 65,000 in order to continue that move. You get above 65,000, you can get to about 65.4. You get above 65.4, you'll visit about 65.6 and then to about 65.8. So that's kind of some levels to watch the upside. A lot of different potential resistance points to the upside for right now. However, if you get above 65,940, you can basically fall through all the way to about 67,000. So as long as you can get above 65,940 or 66,000, you can basically fall your way through. Now, to the downside, looking for support zones. So looking at 64,350 as the first one, you get, basically if you lose that, you fall to about 63,840-ish area, 810-ish area, which would be your weekly open. And then if you lose that, potentially 63,720, you lose that, you're looking at about 63,180. So starting to get into that 62,800-ish number right about here. So really aligning with the numbers that I'm telling you guys, you got your Monday midnight open is the lowest point at 62,880. Your weekly open, which is around 63, I believe 63,500-ish area. And then obviously you have a pretty decent support point around 64,000. So keep that in mind, guys, for right now. Those are kind of the spots I'd be looking at for support. Not sure exactly which one is going to hold, but those are all very key and important numbers for right now. Same thing with your swing time frame, guys. Nothing different. Looking to the upside, you're going to get past 65,000. You got to get past 65.4 and then to about 65.8 and then finally 65.940 to get that continuation to 67,000. And then to the downside, looking at about 64,350, getting that continuation down. You could even use this potential impulse as a support point around 64,000, then to 63,720, then you basically fall through to about 63 200-ish area and then to about 62.8. So very similar levels, not exactly the same to the downside, but very similar support levels that you could be watching for tonight through tomorrow morning. That being said, guys, I hope you guys had a wonderful trading day. Tomorrow, I do expect to be more boring than Friday. So if you need a break, definitely there's a potential that you'll have that opportunity tomorrow if you need to kind of regain your composure after this week, regain your senses as to what may be happening. I'm probably, unless I see a nice discount retracement, I will probably be taking a break from trading tomorrow. I will still be giving you guys your updates, so of course. And then Friday will be my last trading day this week to see, where price action will be moving potentially up or down. All right, guys. That being said, that is what I have for you for now. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you all in the morning. Take care.